Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. Hilton brings you new ways to stay. With experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
From the Fifth Quarter Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, you are listening to High School Hoops with our hosts, Steve Collins and Jake Steger. Hey, everybody. Welcome to High School Hoops, episode 24. Today, we're going to talk about adding to our arsenal, kind of coming up playoff time. What do you kind of add to your repertoire, to your tool belt, kind of as the season comes kind of winding down, I guess, toward tournament time. So, but before we do that, I'd like to give a big shout out to Dr. Dish. Go over and check him out. Mention Coach Unplugged or High School Hoops. I'll give you $300 off. It is the #1, in my opinion, shooting machine on the market. There's no reason to look anywhere else. I would also ask that you go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. 14-day free trial. I know there's lots of resources on the internet. I do realize that. I know there's lots of places that you can go to get help. I would put us up against anybody. I know there's other places that have resources. There's other places that have community. There's other places that have handouts. I don't think there's any place like teachhoops.com, which has a community, which has basically a 3-time state championship coach running it that has been through the battles, has coached youth basketball, has won at the highest level at the high school, has been nationally ranked. I don't think there's anything else like that. And, you know, I've been through the battles. I know your struggles. So go over and check it out. 14-day free trial. I don't think you'll be disappointed. So go over and check it out. All right, let's head off to the podcast. All right, February. I love it. All right, Coach, what's our episode 24 of High School Hoops? What do we got today?
We're getting to that point of starting to talk about playoffs, so I'd like to dedicate a little bit of time to talking about maybe adding some things to prepare yourself for the playoff season. So adding new arsenal to prepare for the big run in March.
Right. So I think it's important to not wait until tournament time to start thinking about who you could possibly play, what you need to be able to do against those specific teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes people wait too long. Like I can tell you, in the beginning of January, I'm already starting to think, okay, we might play these opponents. We're going to have to beat this opponent. What am I going to have in? What am I going to have to, part of it is that clutter we were talking about getting rid of, but it's also, this is more about, I got to add a good delay game. I got to add some situational stuff where we're down 3 with 2 minutes to go. How am I going to handle it? I think those are the things you have to start adding to your arsenal come tournament time.
I think
I haven't been doing it all season.
Right. I think too, though, it becomes a mindset change, and you as a coach, and I know you and how you think is you're always talking about early in the season, about early when you start the season, what are we going to do to get to March? I don't think coaches always believe that their team is going to get to March. And so I think, especially if you're taking over a program and they haven't had a lot of success, like, I don't know, like you've been to, the state championship multiple times. I think it's a little bit easier for you because you've been there and so forth.
Right.
So it's a little harder for people to think about, I just hope that we win a game or win another game when it comes to playoff time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think it becomes a whole mindset change before anything.
Yeah, I think it does too. And it's like, we were just talking about, we were on a 4-game losing streak.
Right.
And, I saw a couple of my boys today because they were helping out at a youth tournament. And it's like, I said, my goals haven't changed. I think we can still, be competitive. I think we win this thing. It's like your mind shift. Don't let your mind play, mind games. You have to be able to, like, how can we do this? What are the, you don't run a marathon by training for 2 days. It's a long process. Ironman's a great example of it. It takes a year to plan. If you want to be an Ironman, you got to plan a year. You have to learn how to swim and to bike and to run and do them all in the same day and da da da. So there's a planning process that I think needs to come in. And then when you're doing that, when you're thinking about that in terms of a big picture, you have to narrow it down to, like, okay, I need a delay game. I get up 4 in the fourth quarter. I got to be able to pull the ball out and take some time off the clock. Or, shoot, we might get down to this opponent. I'm going to have a couple full court presses in just so we can counter them. So I think those are the things you got to really start thinking about.
It goes back to you, and you always talk about planning out your whole season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can be able to add a bunch of new stuff when it's because it goes end of season and literally 4 or 5 days later you're into the playoffs. You can't do that much,
right?
And it's in a short amount of time. So you have to be thinking already in January. What are some things that we don't have that already should have been added? So we're in February now. A lot of our guys listening to this are maybe got 2 to 3 weeks before they get going into playoff mode. And
right.
They got to start thinking about what do they need to do. What are some things that they could add to their program, their team going into playoff time. So what are your suggestions? What are some things that have given you success in regards to adding some things moving into tournament time?
Well, I mean, we do situations all year, but we don't do them as much as we should.
Mm-hmm.
So come mid-February, we're doing situations a lot. We're doing a lot of, I have my assistant coach go, you just pick something, put it on the clock, and we're going to go for 4 minutes or 2 minutes or 37 seconds, or whatever he puts up there. So I think that's a really important part because
every situation that's
I don't know any of them. I know none of them. When he puts them up,
do you think that's valuable for a coach to be able to be thinking on the fly sometimes in practice with your players? That's really it's pretty authentic in that sense. I like that actually.
It's more about it's practice for me too.
Right.
I'm not running up and down the court. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this. Just make sure you go over and subscribe and like. We would really appreciate that. Just pause for 13 seconds. Go down, leave 5 stars. It means so much to us and really helps our podcast out so we can keep bringing these to you. And then go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. Can't imagine a better time. February. All right. Work with them, but I need to be put in that situation where the game's close. What am I going to do? And then what I usually do is I'll take, my top 7, and then I'll give 2 of my assistants the other group. So I'm having to play a little bit of chess too. Because they'll know that, we're going to do this to you. And then, I got to counter that. And, he just ran an out of bounds play, but I'm going to counter this, and then we literally put everything on the board, how many timeouts are left, whether we're in the double bonus, John's in foul trouble, blah, blah, blah. So, I 2 days ago, we did like 4 of them, and it takes some time. You gotta chunk out like 20 minutes to do it because, it takes some time to reset the clock. But what I use is when one of my assistants is doing that on the clock. So let's say we do a 2-minute one, game's over, whatever. While he's resetting the next one, putting the score up, the fouls, all that stuff, telling who's in foul trouble, I'm talking to the group about, okay, here's what we could have done. Here's what we should have done. Here's maybe how we could have reacted.
That's the whole cerebral part of basketball.
It is. And I just do it for me.
What are your other thoughts about subtracting things? So often we want to add things. Do you think it's beneficial for coaches to start subtracting things at the end of the season?
No, I think the subtraction thing is good. We lost a state title because somebody threw a 2-3 zone at us, and they had worked on it for like 1 day in December. It was Tosa. So if we've done it at some point, it's still there. It might not be very good. So it's subtraction, but not elimination is the way I kind of refer to it.
All right.
Maybe we ran a 1-3-1 for 2 months and then we haven't done it in a month because that would be a subtraction, but it's still there. It's still in the back of my head. Like, I can always take a 30 and say, here's what we're going to do. Here's where you go. We have done this. You know how to do it. I like the word subtraction rather than elimination.
Okay.
But
what about this? The topic is really about adding arsenal. Are there any suggestions or things that you, as a veteran coach, would think that'd be important for somebody to add or maybe to put in before the playoff time?
Yep. I always have I always have some quick hitters, some out of bounds plays. I always have things that no one has seen. Okay. That we haven't done really in a game at all. Or if it's a game, then I know it's a game no one's going to be scouting. But we've worked on it in practice for at least a couple weeks. So I think that's really important to it's part of the chess match a little bit that, here's going to be this out of bounds play that you have not seen. We're just going to try it. We're going to see if it works. But it's the same thing with a quick hitter, a couple other options. I think they do work if you've worked on them in practice. But again, you're not reinventing the wheel at this point of the season. Practices are shorter, better to be precise and be really good at a few things.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. I'd like to have some full court pressure stuff added, some minor tweaks before playoff time. I think that's huge because at some point you might need to be able to get a couple buckets or change the momentum of a game. And sometimes teams don't see that pressure. They don't expect it. From a defensive end, I think that's one thing that you could definitely be able to do. And you could dedicate a majority of a practice, especially at the end of the season where you have a lot of stuff in. Well, hey, we're going to work on our zone pressure today for the whole practice, because we don't have a game to Friday. We have a whole week off, Start thinking about what are some things that you could have in the back in the back burner as it gets to the playoff time.
Right. I agree. All right. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. I think that's good. All right. See you in a week, Coach.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yep, bye. Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that as much as Jake and I enjoyed bringing it to you, talking about how to add to that arsenal, that tool belt as the season winds down. A couple things. We would really appreciate if you went over and checked out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. We are very excited about the new website. It is awesome. We're never going to stop working on it. So go over and check that out. And what you can do for us is there's a couple things. You can go over, check out our YouTube channel, teachhoops.com, or teachhoops on YouTube. All sorts of free resources out there. Also, you could leave us a 5-star review. We would really appreciate that. I think that means a lot to everybody that helps bring this to you on a weekly basis. So go over and check that out. Have a great week.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.